Hello there, people of YouTube. I hope everyone did enjoy the Christmas break or Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. 2018 is coming to an end now, and as usual for any YouTuber that reviews movies, we need to do a top 10 films of 2018 list and a worst of list. So we're going to start off with the best of list. Now, a couple of ground rules before we do start. Firstly, I am from the UK, so I'll be counting any film that was released theatrically in 2018 in the United Kingdom. So you might see a few films on this list that technically came out in 2017 where you're from, but where I'm from they came out in 2018, so they count in this list. Also, the other rule, I will only be counting theatrical releases. So anything from Netflix is discounted here. Now before we begin, if you like my content, feel free to subscribe down below and follow me on any of my social medias, which you can see on screen straight away. And without further ado, let's get on with some honourable mentions first of all, that didn't quite make my list, but they were very good movies that I would recommend. Those include Game Night, Incredibles 2, Bad Times at the El Royale, Black Panther, and Black Klansman. So with those out the way, let's get on with the countdown. Number 10 is Isle of Dogs, directed by Wes Anderson, that everyone seems to have forgotten about. But honestly, the art style of this film was very unique and very out there, and it was a really enjoyable film to watch. It was very simple, the framing was brilliant in it. It wasn't quite a family film, it was definitely a more mature style animated film, and there were a lot of dark themes, but I love the simplicity of how the story was told, especially as most of the human characters all spoke Japanese, so most of the dialogue had to come from the dog's perspective, and I just thought it's a really underrated film because it was fantastic when it first came out, and I hope more people do get around to seeing it. Tonya is the first of the 2017 lot that didn't get released till 2018. This film starred Margot Robbie as the titular character, Tonya Harding. Everyone's seen the video of that figure skater crying because their knee is being caved in by a crowbar, and it's led to some great cosplays throughout this year. I just thought the performances and the way the story was told was very unique and very clever, and Margot Robbie delivers a fantastic performance throughout this film, and it was one of those films that kept me hooked from start to finish, and it is one of the best films that came out this year. Creed 2 came out just last month, and it was a sequel to Creed, which when that came out it was number 2 on my top 10 list that I always write every year, and this film was fantastic. It wasn't quite as good as the first one, but in terms of the development that it gave to the Drago family, made it so that for the first time ever, we don't just have good guy versus bad guy in terms of these Rocky films, or good guy versus just a guy. This was two sets of people both fighting for their own things. Like, the Dragos weren't just evil villains from like back in the 80s. Sylvester Stallone was fantastic in it as always, and I hope we don't make a third. It feels like these two Creed films are very good. They can feel like the standard might drop down later on down the line. Oh god, I'm going to get some hate for this one. So number 7 is Avengers Infinity War, the big one that we've been waiting for 10 years. It was a really entertaining flick and it lived up to all expectations. Honestly, while everyone seemed to be blown away with it, I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I love that film, but I wasn't blown away by it like many others. But that might be just because I was dying for the toilet for the good, I would say, a good hour and a half for that film. Avengers Endgame is definitely an interesting watch, and Infinity War did live up to expectations, but as its own movie, as a standalone, like, you need to watch every other film to get it, which I feel does let things down a little bit in terms of just a solo film. Ready Player One was Spielberg back to his whimsical best. Now, a lot of people are hit and miss on it. Some people find it really dumb, some people just hate this movie. Me, honestly, I miss going to the cinema for fun, seeing as every film seems to have some sort of political or social agenda these days. There are very few films these days that go back to just having fun and losing yourself in a completely different world, like Indiana Jones, or the Alien franchise, or the Terminator franchise. This film felt like a massive love letter to those old classic films and just losing yourself in a whole different world. Don't lie, guys, if this game came to existence, guarantee everyone that's picked up a video game will be playing this game. I love the avatars, I love the homages, the Easter eggs are just out of this world. I really miss just going to the cinema just to enjoy myself and have fun. I just thought Ready Player One was one of those big films that everyone needed in this day and age, and it came out at the right time and was really entertaining. Number 5 is Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse. Now, this film, I watched it quite late. I didn't get around to reviewing it because of how late I got around to watching it. Because it wasn't widely advertised. The art style was a bit hit and miss for me. But I eventually went to watch it just because everyone was singing this film's praises. And my God, this film was fantastic. The art style was badass. The characters all were fantastic. This film had heart. It had emotional scenes. It had comedy. It had a lot of meta jokes. It just felt good to see these characters come to the big screen. I'll be honest, I've never picked up a Spider-Man comic. I was raised on the animated show, the 2 PS1 games, the classic PS2 game as well, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. So in terms of comic books, I've never picked them up. But seeing this film, I actually want to go out and pick up the comic books. It was just mind-blowing. The art style was fantastic. The storytelling was fantastic. I feel like it's the best Spider-Man film that's ever been made. Don't lie, when Miles Morales gets his spider suit, the composition editing of that scene is mind-blowing and got me really hyped for the finale. So Spider-Verse well-deservedly drives into this top 10. On my way to Chicago, I'm on American Airlines. It was on there, so decide, you know what? May as well watch it. And this film broke me a good 3 times. I had to put on the funniest comedy I can find afterwards because this film is so emotional and so detailed and so in-depth. Just the storylines, the way it deals with death, it's very respectful to the traditions of these people. The Day of the Dead festival is played for what it is. It's a celebration of life and death and how death is not the end. I feel like it's a really good lesson for kids. The art style was brilliant. This film just got me. It was one of those classic Pixar films that was able to make me feel a good amount, and I really enjoyed it. So Coco does drive its way into the number 4 spot. Number 3 is 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, the third and final of the 2017 films that came out in the UK this year. This was the first film that came out in 2018 that I saw. Frances McDormand was fantastic and well deserved her Oscar for his performance. Sam Rockwell gives us one of the best character arcs I have ever seen on cinema screens. Woody Harrelson is really good for when he's in it. I didn't really like the way it ended, but I also wasn't mad that we never found out who killed her daughter in the end. It's just a very well made film full of characters. The Billboards aren't the whole plot. They're there, but they're sort of like the backbone of the meat around it, and there is so much meat and so much character around it that is just fantastic, and it was very hard to beat, but there were 2 films that did manage that. A Quiet Place. Now, I am a massive horror fan. I love horror, and one thing I hate is the fact that there's jump scares and everything, and horror just doesn't seem to try and be clever or give us good characters anymore. A Quiet Place took a brilliant concept of just silence. There was hardly any soundtrack in this. There's hardly any dialogue apart from one exposition scene underneath some waterfalls. The rest of it is pretty much all sign language. The tension this film builds, that's one thing I like about horror. It's not about making you jump out your skin, it's the tension making your spine chill, the hair stand up on your skin, and this film did this fantastically, and the characters they built was brilliant. The fact they actually got an actress who was partially deaf in this as well was also a great touch, because she didn't have to act, she could literally display how painful it is to not be able to hear things. I loved every second of this film, and the way it ended was just badass, and I'm glad it ended there. Some people don't like how it ended. Me, I love the ending, because if it got any further, it would have gone out of horror into silly action movie. It stops there. Apparently there's a sequel coming, which I will probably go watch, but this on its own is fantastic. And it was my number 1 for quite a while, but there was one film that made it there. A Star Is Born is my number 1. The best film of the year, directed by Bradley Cooper, also starring him and Lady Gaga. This film was amazing. Now, I went into this film expecting it to be good. When I go into a film expecting it to be really good, and it smashes those expectations and goes even better. This film was almost perfect, from the romance, the set pieces, the concert scenes, the emotional dynamic between the characters. The film just took me for a ride for the entire runtime. It lowers for maybe 5 minutes halfway through, but the time of it never feels too long. There is great pacing in it, there's perfect acting in it. If Bradley Cooper isn't at least nominated for Best Director for this, I am losing all hope and faith in the Oscars there. But yeah, A Star Is Born is an instant classic in my honest opinion, and well deserves its number 1 spot on this list. So that is my top 10 out of 70 films I've seen this year. I'll be making the full list of rankings available on my letterbox tomorrow, once I got both these videos out. Stay tuned for my worst list, and if you like this video, please drop a like and let me know what your favourite films were down in the comments below. Hit the round subscribe button for more reviews coming all the time. This is that Spiderhead podcast signing off.